Perfect. Hey guys, it's Ted with the Ted Show. Welcome back. Excited to have a longtime friend. She's aged 1,000 times better than me, but the talented, the insightful, and author. She's amazing. It's Dr. Kris Sargent. Welcome to the show, Kris.
Hey, Ted. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. This is going to be
I'm
fun.
excited. I follow you obviously since college. And you have done some amazing things, and you've got just great insights. I just love everything about what you do, and of course, I love this title. But before we get into that, let's introduce them to you.
Sure.
Give us a little background on you.
Should I tell all the stories from UCF or no?
Whatever you'd like. Just glad there's no pictures of that, or not
Yeah,
too
right.
No social media.
Yeah, because it was so long ago. Hey, I
so
know.
long ago.
We have to take pictures of pictures in order to get those up.
Oh my God, I know.
Right? Yeah. So I started my pre-med stuff way back at UCF and in biology and psychology, and moved through chiropractic school. Please don't hold that against me, because I know people have like weird opinions
why
about
is that? Well, I want to know that later. I want to know why people have weird things about
we should have another show about that.
Yeah.
That's deep. So you know the poop emoji? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. That's it.
Anyway, so chiropractic school, and in chiropractic school I discovered this amazing man named Jeffrey Bland, and he was starting this movement called functional medicine, and it made sense to me. And nutrition and weight has been very personal for me. It's always something that I've had to work with or struggle with. I don't like to use those words. Just, it was a challenge, and in order to stay like what I feel like is a healthy place to be. And so he came along and said, well, if your body has all the right ingredients that it needs, you eat right, you drink right, you move your body right, you sleep right, and you have some really good emotional health, your body's designed to be healthy. And I'm like, dude, that makes so much sense. So I started, seriously, right? Does that make sense? Like, simple stuff, right?
Seems very simple.
It is simple. Not always easy. Simple.
Right. Exactly. Right? Which is a big difference.
Yeah. Well, that's why we're here talking about why.
That's right? Exactly why we're here.
Yeah. So in school and before that, I had my own health stuff. I had some hormonal things that were kind of wonky, and I'm like, well, if this functional medicine stuff works for all these crazy things like autoimmune disorders that you say it works for, how about just some basic funky, wonky, girly hormonal things? And you know what? Boom, within 2 or 3 months, a long-term issue of mine was really resolved. And so
wow.
in chiropractic school, I resolved at that time, look, I'm going into functional medicine. This is what it is my passion. It is my heart. And so when I opened my practice, I opened it as a chiropractor because that's how people would know me, and with nutrition, because sure, you can adjust the spine all day long, and if you're eating McDonald's or some junky junk, it's not going to help.
Right.
I mean, it's
I think
like
people don't realize that though. They don't get it.
It's like, oh, well, I'm just going to take some vitamin C and all will be fine with my immune system. Well, we
all want a magic pill, Kris. We want a magic pill.
I know. I am such a buzzkill on that.
You mean there's no magic pill? Oh my gosh, say it isn't so. But I think what you said earlier is so critical. It's simple but not easy. Like, I think most of us know the things that we should be doing and the things we shouldn't, especially when it comes to eating or exercise or whatever your lifestyle is. But it doesn't mean it's easy to do.
Right. It gets easier based on our topic.
Correct.
Yeah, when you really find and figure out what that's all about. So
tell me a little bit about chiropractor. I won't dive too deep because I do love that other topic we were talking about.
Sure.
Every friend that I have ever had that has become a chiropractor has made some similar comment that you just made. And because I do believe, I have to tell you, I went to the chiropractor for the first time in my life about a year ago, 6 months ago. I had never been. And that didn't mean that I thought they were, I heard sometimes they think you're a quack doctor. That's what the one guy said. It's not real medicine. That's a lie. But I just wasn't sure how I wanted to hear my back crack, if that would send me over the edge or not. I don't like the cracking sounds. I don't like knuckles, right? So that was my stupid reason for not going. And I'm very glad I did, because it was awesome. It's been awesome.
That's great. So, you know, the chiropractic medical thing is deep, rich in history. And, you know, I'm going to disclaimer right here, right up front, right now, so that your listeners aren't just immediately turned off. I have nothing against medical establishment. What they do well, they should keep doing.
Right.
Right. I mean, if I get hit by a bus, don't take me to my chiropractor, right? Until after my arm is sewn back on.
Correct.
Right. If I'm having a heart attack, take me to the hospital and, you know, get me all the good stuff that I need. And then, right. And so, however, most of what ails Americans, 70 to 90%, of chronic diseases have nothing to do with that acute, I need somebody right now to fix something. It's
Correct.
Something that's come on slow, right? Heart disease can be a 5 to 20 year progression. This is lifestyle medicine. And so I have nothing negative against the medical profession. Yes, medications are needed for mental health sometimes they're not. No, that is not in dispute here. What's in dispute is when it is a lifestyle issue. Medical doctors have 7 hours of nutrition on average in medical school. 7.
That's insane.
7.
Because you do have to know. I mean, even if you're going by the most traditional of medicine, there's certain things I've been told not to eat, or stay away from this while you're under treatment, or you know, there's still something along with it. So you would think it would be more than 7 hours. And
what is actual, and in the literature, and what they're telling people is about 50 years behind, like 30 to 50 years behind, right? They're still telling diabetics to throw a packet of sugar in their pocket in case they have low blood sugar. Like that's not an answer.
I did not know they were still doing that. That's unreal.
I'm going to tread lightly.
Crazy.
Or I could just be really bold and say, you know what, most of the registered dietitians in hospitals, they're behind. They're frankly behind. And they're teaching.
So take somebody like you who does it's alternative seems like such a crazy word, but there's probably a better word. But you are a different alternative, something that people can embrace if they do so. There's plenty of empirical data behind what you do as well.
Right. So in chiropractic school, we really believe that the body's designed to heal itself. I mean, that's the main philosophical difference between traditional medicine and us, is that they believe that you're genetically pre-programmed and there's nothing you can do about it. And we know, based on at least 20 years, and that's being very conservative, closer to 30 years of data from the genetics, that what we do to our genetics, it is 70 to 90% of our health outcome.
Agreed.
Our genetics are only 10 to 30%. And so that philosophy doesn't bear out over time. And so leaning into chiropractic, they believe the body can heal itself because it can. You cut yourself shaving, you don't worry about whether you're going to bleed out for 4 days.
Correct.
Right? I mean, we have these mechanisms that heal our body. So that's really the philosophy is the difference. And then just the number of hours in nutrition and lifestyle medicine that chiropractors come out of school with is 200 to 400 hours just out of school, let alone any, continuing education in the state of Illinois. We have to have a minimum of 50 hours a year. So that's, you have to stay up with it. And in functional medicine, everything is backed by a study. Everything that we speak about, everything that we talk about is backed by a study. And many of them are in the Journal of the American Medical Association. They're in the Internist. They're in, all of the major journals, they're in gastroenterology. They're in the major journals. Medical doctors aren't taking the time to read them or apply them. And so that's where the beef comes.
So fascinating.
I am not a researcher. That's why I follow people like Jeffrey Bland and Mark Hyman and some of these other guys who are these amazing David Katz, amazing researchers that can feed me so that I can feed you, right? I'm like that middle person that understands what they're talking about clinically. However, I'm the voice of let's keep this simple and teach people how that can float through into their life.
So what is functional medicine?
So functional medicine is exactly that. It's like being the mechanic for your body. It's about getting all of your organ systems to function properly. They need certain ingredients, like your car needs certain ingredients, right? You got to have windshield wiper fluid. Well, you don't have to. It makes things nicer for you to see through, right? you gotta have radiator fluid. You gotta have power steering fluid. You gotta have transmission fluid. You gotta have gas. You gotta have oil, right? You have to have all those things. We have to have proteins and carbohydrates and fats and vitamins and minerals and water. And those are the things that make our body run properly and in the proper amounts so that it runs in a healthy way.
So is each person, I have to ask, because people think, all right, Kris, I hear what you're saying, but it's all right. I've got this supplement I'm taking. I've got all this gut. But so is it that there's a fix that goes across the board that's universal? Or when you're talking about nutrients and minerals and things that your body needs, is each body different?
Each body's yes and yes. So we are all genetically unique. Right. And we do still fall on that standard curve, right? And so there are people at either end of that standard deviation curve that are going to require more of this and more of that. And they are the yellow canaries. And I'll talk about that in a second. However, the majority of us need, appropriate amounts of protein and fat, vegetables over junk food, fruit over sugar. Like we all need those things in order to really work right. Like we have to start with the foundation, right?
Correct.
If you don't build your lifestyle, if you build your lifestyle around a bunch of pills, that's not a lifestyle. Those pills will not hold you up.
But people think, again, there's this magic. Or if I take, this is the newest supplement out there. This is the newest thing. It's got all the minerals in it, Ted. And I think that people don't vet enough, and there's, because there really isn't any, we don't have a great vetting system overall, but they certainly don't do their own research on ingredients. And a lot of times in their defense, they wouldn't know how. So does somebody come to you and go, all right, Dr. Sargent, this is my problem. And then how does it work? Do you run a lot of tests? Do you explain the process for them?
Yeah, sure. So in functional medicine, we take a very deep history. We spend about an hour and 15 minutes taking you from birth to now with everything that's happened to you in between. So a very detailed timeline of your health. And a lot of times we can find those places along that timeline where there've been hiccups, right? I mean, I don't know. I've certainly had times in my life that I might have had too much to drink over a few months or a year or more.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we've all had those times where we didn't take good care of our body. I got pregnant when I was 40. Like I chose to have children later. And so that was a giant stressor on my body. And so those are things that in a timeline we can look at and go, okay, hey, here's a blip. If you were abused when you were a kid, that's a big mental and emotional thing, right? That colors your whole life, and it can color how you take care of your body. So all of those things. So you dive into a history, and then I do an extensive lab panel, way more than what your traditional doctor will do. And I look at them through a different set of lenses, really. We put on our functional medicine hat and our functional medicine glasses and say, okay, how does that enzyme act and what creates that enzyme? One of the enzymes is zinc dependent. So if you're low on that enzyme, you may be low in zinc, right? So we look at things from a very different perspective and say, okay, you're deficient in these things, and here's your timeline. Here's why you're deficient. So let's not only fix what you eat, drink, move, sleep, think, and feel. Let's also make sure that we're plugging the leaks in the bucket, so to speak. Does
That's
that
so
make
cool.
sense?
Yes, because I think I ended up being a while back vitamin D deficient.
Amazing.
I
You live in
mean,
Florida.
imagine I don't know why it shouldn't have any vitamin D deficiency, but but I would have never guessed that. I probably would have just thought, I mean, I don't know what I would have thought. I just thought I was groggy, and I don't even know what the symptoms of low vitamin D are. But I can tell you that once I took a supplement from the doctor, that I felt a little better. And then my numbers went back to normal, and it just, but I would have never known, I guess is the point. So if you don't run that extensive panel like you do, you really don't know.
You have no idea. You have no idea. And, there's so many ways to look at labs, and really understanding the functional perspective of labs is so important, so that you can get what you actually need. And so then people don't have to do a bunch of vetting, and they're not worried about whether this is the right thing for them, or, oh, this is the magic. And then they spend, $300 a month on some magic, and, then it's on auto ship, and they just keep spending the money, even though they quit taking it 6 months ago. And then they come to me and tell me they don't have the money to do what they need to do. And it's hilarious.
It's funny because the network marketing, there's some products that I've bought for years from someone, and I continue to use them, but vitamins and supplements have not been one of them. Just because it can't always be the next new thing. I need to find something that is right for my body, and not just this generic thing across the board. So I want to talk about the how is easy when the why is screaming. I immediately said, yes, that is the absolute best title I've seen in a long time. So talk about that. What does that mean?
So, I mean, what we've really been talking about is a lot of external motivating factors, right? We look outside of ourselves for all of the answers. The magic pill, potion, lotion. We look outside, we look at this model or that athlete and go, ooh, I want to be like that. I'm going to do his workout. I'm going to become him, right? We look out there for the motivation. And I don't know the last time, if you ever do like New Year's resolutions, I mean, this is the sort of the cliche in all of this, is that, you start something on Monday, and by noon on Monday, you've already had a donut, and you're like, next week, right? Because you haven't really dug into what are you doing this for? What's going to be different in your life a year from now, when, not if, when you are continuing, like the compound effect, right? When you are continuing to stay in a healthy lifestyle.
Right.
What's going to be different, or imagine what would be different. And so for a lot of my clients, particularly weight loss clients who may have, over 50 pounds, or even 30 pounds can keep you from doing things that you want to do. If you've got 100 pounds to lose, there's a lot of life that's not being lived. And this is what brings me to tears, right? Is there's so much life to be lived. And there's so many things that people can take control of, and then they can live this bigger, more amazing life. And so when you start digging into, well, what would be different? Well, I've always wanted to hike the Grand Canyon.
Right.
Right? Like, you name one of your why things. Like, what keeps you focused on a healthier lifestyle, Ted?
Grandchildren,
grandchild.
Having one and wanting more. By the way, that's a hint to my children. It's time. No, but I know what you're saying. But I think what happens is you mentioned it a little earlier. People have this psychological, whatever you want, a soulful, spiritual thing they haven't dealt with, or multiple things. In most of our cases, multiple things that we hadn't dealt with, and so they you actually feel in control. You think you do when you're eating the donut. I'm just using that as an example because you do.
Yep, no,
but in reality, the donut's controlling you, and you're allowing it to, because there's an interesting, at that point, symbiotic relationship between you and the food, or you and the lifestyle, or you and the whatever. And so it's comforting almost in a really backwards way. And you have to be able to, like you're talking about, get to the core of that. Why is that happening? Ask those questions. I love that.
Yeah, you definitely have to dive deeper, and you have to be willing to do and take some of that painful journey to actually move past it. I think that that's the work that a lot of people don't want to do because it's painful. And, I had an amazing coach many years ago who had this illustration of the passage of pain. And so, I don't know, when I close my eyes and I think about my passage of pain, when we expend a tremendous amount of energy trying to go over the passage and around the passage, under the passage, right? Like we try all of these ways to get to the other side, and you're just going to be met with more obstacles along the way. And when you just buckle in and look through the passage and just go through, my passage is like one of those culverts under the highway, right? In Florida, it's going to be slimy and snake filled, and maybe there's a gator along the way, and it's going to be 100%, right? And you're going to have to be on your belly to get there, right?
Right.
Sliding through there. However, the light at the end of the tunnel is not an oncoming train. It is a new day. And you can really just get down, get dirty, get muddy, and then rinse it all off. And, that's the beauty. I mean, for me, it becomes part of my faith life and my spiritual life. However, it's also the beauty of just doing the psychological work with a life coach, with somebody who's trained to help you walk through those painful times.
Well, I think you need that too. Rob says, I love her. She speaks my language. Hey, Rob. I think you need to have somebody to help. But my experience has been that people may have the desire, but if the environment that they're in is filled with a lot of naysayers, enablers, the same things that trigger you, that would normally trigger you, and you have no outlet like somebody who's coaching you and keeping you accountable and things like that, that your success rate is so much higher when you do have somebody helping you than when you're trying to do it alone. And so that's great. That's actually great advice. And I think people need to just get muddy and dirty. It doesn't mean it's easy. Back to that. It's simple, but it's not easy to do. And so when we talk about this, Kris and I have both been through the mud and have experienced it. So we're telling you that, yes, it can be incredibly painful and dirty and muddy, but there's a great light at the end of the tunnel. I absolutely love that. I think that's great.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me, before we start to wrap up, tell me about your Restore You.
Sure. So we've already talked a little bit about the private practice side of how you would work with me. Life coaching is very similar. It would be tailored to whatever it is that you need. If you've got a health issue, plus you've got some of these psychological things going on, I personalize all of those plans for people. So that's that. I do wellness consulting for corporations as well. Particularly right now, I actually have I'm working with a team of ladies that have a bunch of different skill sets, and one of them, I'm the health guru, going into corporations and figuring out, hey, how can we help people in general stay healthier, get healthier, stay healthier? We know that 70% of Americans are overweight and obese, and that's a problem because they have a higher risk of getting COVID and dying from COVID. So now that this lovely little virus or little bug is in our midst, we, hopefully this is like the wake up call. Hey, let's take care of this thing so it will take care of us in the long run.
Right.
Because we have an immune system that can defend ourselves. We can defend this thing. 95% or more of people are defending it. successfully.
Correct. We are. Thank God.
So I think it would be remiss for me to not talk about that.
No, definitely.
Yeah. So Restore You, I've been in practice for 28 years this year. It's kind of crazy since I started when I was like, I don't know, I must have started when I was 5 because I'm like 35 now.
You said you had a baby at 40, so
40.
you blew
Okay,
that one.
well. Yeah. So truth
is,
she turned 17. So
wow.
yeah, I have a 17-year-old and a 15-year-old. So right around 40, I had them. Yeah.
Awesome.
I just turned 56. So, this is what it can be. And it's really digging into how sick are you going to be and how sick are you going to let yourself get before you're going to do something about it. And you're not able to do it by yourself. There's an 8% success rate. And there's a study, there's an 8% success rate when you this is a weight loss study, when you attempt to lose weight on your own. There is a 92% success rate. Amazing how it all works out, right? When you have a coach and a plan and accountability and a community to hold you, a non-judgmental community to hold you. And it doesn't mean that it's all about being perfect.
Right.
Ever. It's about understanding the motivation and to get to that 95% of goodness, right? And treating your body the way in my belief system, the way God designed to be.
Yes.
Right? The way we're designed to be. And so that we can serve more people or serve God if that's your thing.
I love it. All right. So how do people reach you? What's the best way?
Yeah, best way. I have easy to fill out form on my website. I have a phone number if you want it, one of those old-fashioned phone numbers.
Imagine that.
Yeah, I know. I have a voicemail. It goes right to my cell phone. It's amazing. So that's all over my website, restoreyou.com. So I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm easy to find.
And just so people know, just because you're in Illinois,
I work with people everywhere.
Yes, I want people to know that. So,
yes,
especially in this day and age, right?
Yeah,
I've gotten used to it. I love it.
Yeah,
all right,
I know.
Kris,
This has been amazing.
So great to see you. You haven't aged a single bit. So Dr. Kris Sargent, guys, reach out to her. Go to the website. Reach out to me if you want me to put you in touch with her. That was awesome. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. This was so much fun.
All right, guys. Hey, Bonnie. Hey, guys. Mwah. We'll answer your questions and get back to your comments later on today. See you guys later. Thanks, Kris, so much. Bye.